Well, coming up on today's show, BP start trialling their mobile EV charging system. The Microlino starts pre-orders. And Prince Charles, His Royal Highness, gets his I-Pace. Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Wherever you are in the world, hello and welcome to the Sunday, the 16th of September edition of EV News Daily. It's Martyn Lee here with the news you need to know about electric cars and the move towards sustainable transport. Also coming up at the end of today's show, all of your responses to the current question of the week, set by myev.com. That's a website available for now in North America, which helps you buy and sell and even learn about electric cars. So if you aren't in the market for a new one just yet, check out myev.com. Well, I mentioned, of course, for the horrendous weather that we're having at the moment in the Carolinas, and a special shout, actually, a special mention to PlugInSItes on Twitter, at PlugInSItes, and the corresponding website that goes with that, really keeping people up to date with superchargers and the charging situation. The latest tweet, as of when I'm recording this, says this using the hashtag Florence for Tropical Storm Florence. The latest update is that Wilmington, Fayetteville and Wallace, North Carolina, Tesla Superchargers are temporarily closed. Life-threatening storm surge and catastrophic flash flooding is still forecast as of the time when this is being recorded. Stay safe, everybody. Well, moving on to a story about BP, a big oil name moving into the EV field, and their mobile charging system, which I've seen a fair bit of criticism of, actually, but it's kind of interesting, gets people talking. They've launched a trial of FreeWire, their rapid charging service. It's going to run until the end of October, according to petrolplaza.com. As you can imagine, I'm not a frequent visitor to petrolplaza.com, but it's where I found this. BP FreeWire is their mobile rapid charging system. It's kind of a big box on wheels, really, if I'm honest with you, and a fancy logo on it. It can recharge EVs up to 50 kilowatt speeds, and it's going to achieve 80% of your battery in 30 minutes is the aim, according to BP. During the trial, the charging is going to be totally free, as is parking at the BP site. It's going to be trialled here in London, and the EV drivers simply need to park up, and one of their operators are going to be on site to explain it to you and set it up and start and end the charging trial. I know a lot of people say that big battery on wheels is basically a bit of a PR stunt and really not that useful in the real world, but they're obviously doing it for some sort of reason, so let's see how they go with it, and maybe they can implement that in some way. Well, earlier this week on the podcast, I was talking to you about BMW pre-ordering the iX3. Not available until 2020, but they were testing the waters. For pre-orders, let's face it, it's going to be hard to match 400,000 plus pre-orders for a Tesla Model 3, but they gave it a go. They did okay, got 1,000 pre-orders with some deposits laid down as well. Well, now, meet the Microlino. Or maybe it's the Microlino. Anyway, not quite sure how to say it. However, you know about this company, right? We've talked about them on the podcast before. They're a new company, and they have just exceeded $100 million in pre-orders. It's not exactly a successor to the bubble car or even the BMW iZeta, not officially sanctioned, that kind of thing, and approved. It's a single door on the front. Looks like a bubble car, and it's got that big single door that swings out on the front, and then you just walk straight into your car. They say this, and I quote, "The goal was to create a vehicle which was inspired by the bubble cars of the 1950s, but with modern design and technology. In addition, it should be eco-friendly in production and during usage," end quote. Well, all of those pre-orders, 8,000 of them, by the way, coming mostly from Germany and Switzerland, which is where the first deliveries will obviously happen, again with a €1,000 deposit. So it's not just putting your name down, you actually had to hand over hard cash for these deposits of the 8,000 people that did. And no 2-year waits for this, like there is with the BMW iX3, because production starts in October on those early production models to iron out any of the production intricacies before they go full steam ahead. Well, Micah Toll for Electric says this: the retro design and appealing marketing have been successful at winning over new drivers, with the company announcing over 8,000 pre-orders for the new vehicles at $14,000. That's €12,000. The Microlino's price is not that much higher than many commuter electric motorcycles and considerably cheaper than some other affordable family-sized electric cars. The bubble car's top speed is 90 k's. That's about 56 miles an hour. And the range, well, from 125 to 200 k's. That's from about 80 to 125 miles. It's got a choice of batteries. Not going to blow you away, this one. 8 kilowatt hours or 14.4 kilowatt hour lithium iron phosphate battery pack. And Micah writing for Electrek really is two of my favourite things coming together, because Micah Toll is, with his e-bike school, electric bike school, a fountain of knowledge on electric bikes, which is my next project. So, current project, my wife wants an EV. Let's get that bought in the next couple of weeks. Next project is going to be building my own e-bike, which will be, obviously, I'll talk about it on the podcast. And he has an amazing resource on YouTube. And now he writes for Electrek, which is one of my favourite websites out there. So, wonderful. Two of my favourite things coming together. Well, moving on to some royal news. I don't say that very often on this podcast. As Jaguar dealerships in the United States anxiously await the arrival of the new I-Pace electric SUV, some can't stop talking about one big name celebrity, says this website, already having his hands on one. We're talking about His Royal Highness HRH Prince Charles. This is Emma Moreau for SUVs.com reporting on this one. The vehicle wasn't gifted to him either by Jaguar Land Rover. Prince Charles reportedly loved it so much he decided to lease the vehicle with some money out of his own pocket. Ahead of the vehicle's arrival, he even had a fast charger installed at Clarence House. That is the house of the Prince of Wales. So that's fantastic news. Obviously, he is enormously interested, and has been forever, really, on eco things and green things and being kind to the planet. And of course, when that order comes in for your new I-Pace, and it says His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales, you're probably going to put him first on the list. So earlier this week, he did get his I-Pace and his charger installed as well. I mean, you don't mind waiting, really, when royalty comes first, because he's going to be a big proponent of driving electric cars. And obviously, when His Royal Highness Prince Charles likes to plug in his electric car, maybe that's going to be new to him. What he does, he goes out, he drives his car all day, then he gets home, and then he has somebody to do that, obviously, for him. He doesn't plug it in. Well, moving on to talking about charging and wall boxes, you know that EVs are moving past the stage of early adopters. When you get to a story like this, coming via our friends at Inside EVs, there's a Spanish charging station manufacturer, Wallbox, and they're approaching the milestone of 20,000 installations around the world, mostly in Europe, but some China and New Zealand as well. They've got 3 products, soon to be presented at the British Cenex, CENEX show. And they're fashionable charging stations. So we're past the point now of having charging stations that are purely functional. What do you need to charge my car? What have we done? We've built a charging box that does that job. No, now it's all about being fashionable and fitting in with your lifestyle. The Wallbox co-founder and CEO, Enric Asuncion, maybe, says, to date, the emergence of electric propulsion has mostly been framed in terms of societal and environmental change. We recognise these big issues, but are also responding with a new design language, one that rewards the important choices people are making with solid engineering, creativity and functionality to deliver charging solutions with emotion and flair, end quote. So charging stations have moved past now just being functional. Now they are fashionable, so you get to pick one that really expresses your own personal tastes. Maybe we're going to see those kind of Apple videos, shot with a nice crisp white background, and Joni Ive talking about. The design of the Apple Wallbox really is the ultimate expression of Apple's design language. Went a bit Attenborough there. I can't really do a Joni Ive. Anyway, it's good news that we're talking about fashionable EV chargers. Let's move on to our question of the week this week, which I've really enjoyed, actually. It's been a fascinating one. It's where you get your sources of information from when you're buying an EV, or maybe finding out about things like charging and incentives, grants. Where have you been going for more information? What are the sources that you've been using? Well, Kyle Hodgson emailed me. The email address is hello@evnewsdaily.com. That's hello@evnewsdaily.com. Carl says the helpful websites are things like the Ontario government website, went there for details on the incentive when it was around, stayed for the super helpful table comparing the various cars and their ranges. Ontario Plug and Drive, which is plugandrive.com, PLUGN Drive, PlugInDrive.ca, where we could test drive cars that most dealers didn't have on their lot, and PlugShare website and app for planning trips. He says less helpful, though, the manufacturer websites were not helpful really until we'd narrowed down to make a model, narrowed down to a make and a model. Google Maps, he says, pretty poor. Hard to find charging stations on his map app of choice, Google Maps. Well, John Riley says, my go-to place for EVs is the Speak EV forum, as it has lots of great advice on every EV model. It's also a very friendly place, although occasionally some get a bit heated with certain views, but the site's moderators are pretty much on the ball, says John. Yes, well, welcome to the internet. That is pretty much how things go these days with people arguing online. Speak EV is I think it's just pretty much just UK forums, but some immensely knowledgeable people on there. If you want to tap people up for some information, very friendly community as well. I'm a voyeur of Speak EV. I've never actually registered on there. I just love to read everyone's comments and watch the discussion going on over the years. It's been really super interesting. Hello to Levan says, read the question of the week. Since my purchase of a Leaf in 2011, I've mostly depended on monitoring the mynissanleaf.com forum for Leaf-specific and general EV information. I've also avidly followed Robert Llewellyn's fully charged videos from his 2010 pilot and onwards, and several other more channels, his favourites being Transport Evolved and EV Opinion. Hi to Gary Williams says this, short and sweet. Purchasing advice, YouTube, owner reviews, end of story. He's a man of few words, but I like your style. Hi to Martin Woods, who says YouTube and the internet is where he gets 99% of his information from. He says, I subscribe to several EV YouTubers, things like Fully Charged, Transport Evolved, and E4Electric, Autoline Daily, Now You Know, Rich Rebuilds, Electric Vehicle Man, Teslanomics, Clean Tech News, Model 3 Owners Club, EV Revolution, EV Puzzle, Alex Venz, and James Cook. Wow, that's a long favourites list. Oh, by the way, I should mention, anybody who's mentioned this podcast, I've taken those mentions out. I'll allow myself one of them, and lots of people were very kind and said, I listened to this podcast, but that would kind of be somewhat crazy for me to read out the replies saying that. Hi to Damien Davis. Consumer Reports is my go-to for all things cars, says Damien. I also like to watch Inside EVs and videos posted by owners on YouTube. As for charging station information, I installed a 240-volt charging point myself by watching Instructables.com, says Damien. By the way, can I recommend you don't do that unless you are properly certified and qualified? Hi to Robert Nixon. I go on the internet. I can get lots of different opinions, he says. Hi to Ron Superjet, who says, as others have mentioned, YouTube is the place to find out about EVs. Great channels run by people that really understand the technology, and other channels run by actual EV owners. These people live with electric cars on a day-to-day basis, and you'd be hard-pushed to find a better place to get information from. Hi to Aaron Bounds. When looking for information, says Aaron, about EVs, I go on YouTube, watch as many videos on a given topic as possible, and I sort through like a meta-analysis in my head and come up with my own opinion after that. Several legitimate organisations have YouTube, and it's also important for me to get input from random individuals who can't possibly have any big money influences, he says. And finally, the one mention that I will give for this podcast is Andrew Jacobs. You are my primary source of information. Keep up the great work, and thank you. Well, it's not really work, Andrew, but I appreciate that. Thank you very much to everybody who replied. I don't always read all the comments out because we get so many, but thank you very much for everyone for chipping into our question of the week. Quickly becoming the favourite bit of my podcast here. We've got a new question, thanks to the team at myev.com. They've sent me a new question for you to answer now. How was your EV buying experience? Did you go to a dealer? Was it leased? Was it used on you? What are your successes and your fails? Tell me your EV buying experience stories. How did it work out for you? What would you do differently? What advice would you give people looking to buy an EV? And of course, you may have worked out. That does tie somewhat into my current project, which my wife drives a diesel Golf Blue Motion, all the stoppy starty stuff and all those kind of things. But we have to get rid of it now. So she's moving to EV, obviously, and she was always looking at the Leaf. She looked at some new cars like the new i3. However, she really got her heart set on the Renault Zoe. Earlier this week, she looked at one, loved the size of it, loved the styling, hadn't paid a lot of attention to one in the past in terms of thinking, would I spend my own hard-earned money on it? And she really liked it. So I found the nearest one to us was about 5 minutes drive away. It's an independent dealer run by a father and son company. Really lovely people. I called them Friday and they said, yep, come down tomorrow morning about 10 o'clock. We'll have the car ready. And I said, look, I just want to get my wife out in one and driving a Renault Zoe, which she's never done before. And then she can make her mind up. If she likes it, well, then we can talk. So we turned up on yesterday morning, to have a look at the car. It was really dirty. It was really grubby. The people down there were lovely, like a lovely dealer, but it wasn't charged, had 18 miles left on it. It just wasn't ready to go. It was parked at the back of the showroom, 4 or 5 cars blocking it in. We had half an hour in our day. We turned up when I said we would, and it just wasn't ready. And it's frustrating because we were there ready to buy a car. If it was the right car at the right price, and it's on a battery lease, I would have done the deal there and then. Put a deposit down. In fact, I probably would have paid for it there and then. And it wasn't ready. And that's frustrating. And it's not like they didn't care, because I'm sure they want to sell a car, but I was asking things about the lease, how much does it cost? They were like, well, not too much. It's all very affordable. And what I wanted to hear was, well, it starts at £49 here in the UK that you'll pay Renault, you'll pay RCI if you do 4,500 miles per year. Like, that's where it starts. And if you want to go up to £110 per month, that's unlimited mileage and all the tiers in between. I didn't exactly play dumb. I'm not going to be like that and try and con them. But I also didn't tell them I have kind of an interest in this. We just turned up this morning as organised to take this car out, and it was really grubby, really dirty. Like I say, they were nice people, but just didn't really want to sell an electric car. I mean, didn't really want to sell me any cars, to be honest with you. I like softly. I mean, it's kind of how I wanted to buy a car. So that didn't go very well. My wife went down to the local dealer and expressed an interest in that. So they're called Westover Renault. So I live in somewhere called Dorset in the south of the UK. So she popped down there herself and just popped her head in to say, you know what, I'm kind of interested in Renault Zoes. Can you tell me some more? And again, they were really lovely, but kind of not bothered. They said, well, we do have one that people can take out, but it's out for the weekend, so you can't have it. There was no engagement of, right, okay, I'm really sorry we can't drive one now, but when do you want to take one? Monday? Okay, great, it'll be here. Come, what's your number? Here we go. There was none of that proactiveness. The two most convenient, local, to me, geographically local solutions that we explored Friday and Saturday this week were just not really bothered. So, it's fine. We will move forwards and we will use some of those resources here in the UK, some of those people that I know through Twitter, and we'll get her one in the next week or two at probably a great price. I don't mind paying a little bit more as long as I get great service. Is that something that makes sense? I don't want to sound like we've got lots of money, but you don't mind paying a little bit more sometimes. Not too much, but if you know that you're getting great service, you're dealing with people who know what they're talking about and are really going to look after you. So I'll keep you updated of how we go buying her a Renault Zoe, 22 kilowatt hour on a lease, 2 years old. That's what she wants, and we'll get there. Thank you so much for listening today, for taking part in Question of the Week, answering the questions and joining in with the show. I want to say a heartfelt thank you to the 79 patrons of the podcast whose generosity means that I get to make this show. Hopefully you learn a little something every day, maybe a little bit entertained. That'd be nice as well. If you want to check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/evnewsdaily, but no pressure whatsoever. There are 236 episodes of the podcast for you to listen to for free. They always will be on all the usual places like evnewsdaily.com and the podcast. And if you want to check us out on the socials, just search EV News Daily. Have a wonderful day. I'll catch you tomorrow.